is if you're upset at someone, find a way to get more curious and listen with true intent. Don't just listen so you can wait to respond to it. Pause and then reiterate so you can understand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Leaders Uncut. So great to have you here with us today. And today we have with us, we are in great company with Tom Tenney here, who is the author of an amazing book that you all are going to have to read because it is life-changing, I'm telling you right now. And that book is called The Weight of Grace. Hello, Tom. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Catherine, for the kind words. That's so kind.
You're welcome. You know, when you see something like this that really truly makes an impact in your life because it gives you some perspective on something you really didn't think about. I didn't think about this when I first read your book, and I realized, oh my God, it makes complete sense. Yet nobody had ever presented me anything like that. So I can't wait for you to share what it is with my audience here. So if you don't mind, maybe starting giving us a little bit of a background on yourself and why you wrote The Weight of Grace.
Yeah. Where to begin? I think all of us kind of in our life's journey go through peaks and valleys. Times we're doing well, times we're really struggling. And it was about 2 years ago. I was kind of having a hard time. And I had a very poignant dream, a very personal dream that I have it actually the end of one of my or my new version of my book. But in that, I was told that I was supposed to lay my burden before God and to take up His yoke, and that His burden was light. And I felt it was so important to me to figure out what that meant. So when I was at my computer one day, I was like, well, how do I find out what that means? So I created a Google alert of all things a little over 2 years ago. I created a Google alert for "Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And I left it alone for 2 years.
Wow.
Life got distracting. And about 8 months ago, for some reason, I felt this really strong need to look at all those Google alerts while I was cleaning out my email. So I spent a good day straight, and I went through, I had hundreds. I went through each one where there was articles about that phrase, there was podcasts, there was sermons, there was blogs, and just so many different things. And as I was reading, I was like, wow, I'm learning so much more about what this means and different insights and perspectives from people. And in doing that, I felt like I needed to write about that. Most importantly, what laying a burden means, laying a burden down, and how that applies to grace in our lives. And I discovered some what I thought were pretty insightful things. You know, we often hear the phrase, "My burden is light." And I took it literally, not just figuratively. And so in the story, you'll learn about what that means is my burden is light. It's not being just that He's going to take away burdens. Because I've learned in my life, when I place my burdens before God, often He lets me know how much I need Him.
Yeah.
Before He takes some of that away, or at least makes it to have meaning in my life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, is end up writing a story about that, and the feedback has been so humbling. It's so neat hearing the different things that people are teaching me. So.
I'm not surprised because I think it's very timely. This is coming out at a time where humanity needs a hand, needs to open its eyes and its ears and be more aware and develop its consciousness so that we are somehow guided to become closer to God with messages that have to be inspirational because we have to be awoken. We have to wake up here. There's something going on that that is very hard to understand for a lot of people. So having a guide like that, as what you have created with the Weight of Grace, is very important. So, of course, I've read almost everything, but there is a phrase where you say, "Take up your cross and follow me." So what does that mean really to you personally, and how does this shape your book?
Yeah. So the phrase "take up your cross and follow me," I think can be interpreted a lot of different ways. For me, taking up my cross really means acknowledging the challenges that are placed upon our shoulders, whether they're placed there by our own accord, by our choices, or by the choices of others, or just the fact that we're living in a mortal world. And not just taking them as, well, let me back up a little bit. The way the world sees challenges right now is something that we often have to fight against, okay? We, as Christians, we'll wear a cross, right? I have a cross here. And we see the cross as something that represents success from Jesus Christ, right? But we also know that the cross was something that was a torture device for people, right? Way back then. But that's not how we see it. We see it as a victory, what Christ did to conquer in his life. And the challenges that we have in our life, we can do one of two things. We can use it as something we fight against, see it as something negative, okay? But I've learned through my studies and through, so I have a degree in psychology and I read a lot of psychologists. One of my favorite authors is named Stephen C. Hayes. And he talks about living in mortal life and the challenges that we face, whether it's anxiety or anger or resentment or hurt feelings or abuse. And often we see it as something we have to fight against, but I've learned through that extensive study that it's actually something, if we can step outside what it was, what happened, and be able to see our body's attempt to try to resolve it as a objective, outward approach, we actually have compassion for ourselves, for those that hurt us. Because I've learned that we hurt where we love where we hurt.
Well, that's so true. That is so true, but it seems to be difficult, right? In theory, we understand, okay, I have to step back and look at what I'm doing, maybe with the right perspective, and it's not as easy to do, is it?
No, it takes practice.
So can you talk about this? Because I'm sure a lot of people would want to know, how do you practice something like this?
I think, well, practice, obviously, as we know, takes time, but I think some of the most important things to recognize is we're on this earth to gain experience. And practice is not something that we're failing if we keep trying and don't succeed. What I mean by that is, when you fail, that means that you're trying. If you don't try, then you won't fail, but you won't succeed. And so I think it's putting into proper perspective our attempts to try to solve things. There's a book called Failing Forward. It's about recognizing it as, if I'm not succeeding, then I'm learning. I'm not failing. I got to pick back up where I'm at and try again. And I think that's with my own family, with my sons and their goals. I tell them, I'm like, hey, if you don't accomplish your goal, that's okay. The point is that we continue to pick it up and keep trying, because we're going to ebb and flow. We're going to ebb and flow with compassion and forgiveness. But I think that, over time, as we continue to try, that's where we find success, is keep trying.
Yeah, that is so true. And for me, what has always helped me, and more recently, because I think I have understood a lot of things that I never had understood in my life prior to now, growing older in age, is that we take things so seriously. It's a game. When you think about this, it's a game. Just have fun with it. And when I see young people say, oh, I'm scared of doing this, I'm scared of trying that, don't be scared. What do you have to lose? Seriously, go for it. We're here to experience. We're here to learn. We're here to fail. We're here to succeed. And you're never going to succeed a lot if you don't take those chances of failing, because there's no real failure. Failure is a word that I think needs to be eliminated from our vocabulary, because I think it's completely man-made. We are here to experience, to learn, to grow, to be challenged, to understand. And I think most importantly, and that's what I hope people will do more and more, and I'm working on this myself all the time, is learning to shift from judgment to empathy, because we need to become more empathetic. I mean, what do you think about this, Tom?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if we could wave a magic wand and be able to see what people are going through, just always giving them the benefit of the doubt will always provide us much more joy and empathy and compassion. I have to admit, Catherine, at one time when I saw someone on the side of the road begging for money, I used to look at them differently and go, say the judgment of, oh, they put themselves there, and if they just get up and get a job, and I worked in addiction recovery for about a year, and I got to have some really intimate conversations with people going through recovery, and they told me their stories of how they got to where they were at, and I found myself going, if I was in the same circumstance, I might have made those same mistakes.
Yeah.
And have more compassion for people and less judgment. That's just, if we could have more empathy and see people for who they really are, it would mean so much. And one thing else I'll mention, the phrase unworthy. I don't like that word. And the reason I don't like that word, if you break it down, it's saying of no worth.
Yeah.
And that's not true at all. Nope. Every person on this earth has great value. And so I don't look at anyone as not worthy. Yeah. Everyone is of value, and everyone has something to share.
This is beautiful. And thank you for saying this. I think what we have to do too is slow down sometimes. My God, last week I was at the stoplight and there was a big line. And then as you're speaking about people on the street begging, then this woman, she was completely erratic. She must have been in her 50s, and she was begging to get some money, and people were passing by, not even paying attention. So I stopped to the side of the road and I asked her, what is going on? Because I could feel something was going on that had just happened that put her in a position of complete vulnerability and even danger. I felt, danger of life. And she said, my husband passed away 2 weeks ago, and I've lost the house, and I don't know how to pay my bills, and I'm so scared. And sometimes when you take the time to just speak with those people, they are human beings, just like you and I, and we pass by them and we ignore them. And sometimes it's just a 5-minute talk, showing that you actually care and you want to know what's going on in their lives. And yeah, give her a bit of money, but you don't have to all the time. It's just give them a hand. Listen, stop in your rush of your life. I mean, we are rushing so much, especially in this country. This is becoming nuts. It's driving me crazy. Slow down. Pay attention to your surroundings. Look at others, because you know what? The roles can be reversed. Tomorrow it could be you there, and her in your car. You never know what happens in life. You just don't know. Be nice, be gentle, be loving, be compassionate, listen up. Don't judge so fast, because you never know circumstances of people.
Yeah, I remember seeing a bumper sticker that said 98% of the people that you see every day are suffering something you have no clue about.
Yes, that is so true. But if we don't ask questions, if we don't truly care, even on Zoom, sometimes we're co-workers and you want to appear perfect, because it's the BS of perfection as a whatever. It drives me nuts. Slow down, and before you start, ask questions. How are you today? How was your weekend? Were you challenged by anything? Okay, you were. How can I help? I mean, come on. How often do you see this, Tom? How often?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. And that's one thing, Catherine, if we could do better as people in being vulnerable ourselves.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, we often will say, how are you doing? And even if you're not doing well, you'll say, oh, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
But I found that those that I have the most meaningful connections with is when they say, how are you doing? And I say, you know what? I'm having a hard day.
Yeah.
It's tough. And then if you actually pause and listen or are vulnerable with someone, then they go, you know what? I'm not having a good day either. Let's go out to lunch. Let's talk. And we just want to be heard and understood.
Yeah.
And we want to feel we're not alone. So be
That's
honest. When someone asks how you're doing, say, if you're not doing well, I'm struggling.
And I think we are going to be forced to become more like that. And we're going to be forced, I anticipate some things to happen, where we're going to be forced to be detached from our electronic toys, and that we're going to be forced to engage on a human-to-human basis. That's coming up. I know it. I can feel it. I'm not sure under which form it will take place, but I think the skies are starting to guide us in that direction with a big spanking that's coming.
Yes, yes. We learned that we either humble ourselves or we will be humbled.
You know,
right?
The earth has a soul. Like I say all the time, the earth has a soul, and we have a God that knows how to be a good father or a good mother, whatever, father or mother, both, right?
That's right.
He or she knows exactly how to set things in the right direction again. So anyway, I know that we can talk about this a long time. So everything you just mentioned, Tom, it's really about adjusting our relationships with others, the relationships with each other, relationship with the world. So how do you see your book really helping readers transform their relationships with others and with themselves?
Mm-hmm. I think the main key aspects is one, learning how to deal with the stresses themselves. You can't give what you don't have. If I am not able to deal with my current stresses, my temptations, my struggles, things that surround me, then I'm never going to be able to help someone else. And Sam on this journey, that's what his journey path starts with, him not being able to really cope with this scenario. And he finally is taught how to see his struggles, his burdens in a different light. And ultimately those struggles become something not just that he can deal with, but they become special to him. They in themselves become sacred to him because through those challenges, he was able to be changed and be able to adapt and be able to see people differently. I can probably ask anyone in the world, what is the most profound thing that you've learned? And then ask, what struggle was that tied to? And every single one of them is going to have something that they went through that was very difficult to learn that lesson. And then after that, being able to be that Gilead for someone else, to be that comfort for someone else, and be able to see them as a mirror, as yourself. And in the story, they talk about standing in front of other people, seeing their burdens, and seeing that they're different, but no less poignant.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, not only do you have compassion, but you have gratitude for each other. You're like, whoa, I don't know if I would be able to go through what you're going through. That's so amazing. And then all of a sudden you see each other in a different light. And, it's love as opposed to judgment, resentment, or jealousy. It's a true connection that's so vital to find peace.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much we can talk about, and there's so much religion has also not helped with that because of the judging that seems to have taken place it's all religions, right? So I'm not going to touch on that, but I think that has damaged a lot of who we are as humans nowadays. So I'm curious, Tom, of course you wrote this incredible story. Were there parts of your own story that were hard to include or confront while you were writing the book?
Yeah, absolutely. In my story, I have multiple different characters who are in different paths of their struggle. There's individuals who are really struggling and suffering, but they don't realize it. There's people who are fully aware of their struggling, but they're full of anger, and they're claiming to be a victim, and it's other people's fault. I've had other people who are just discovering that their actions have severely impacted other people on their journeys that are very important. And you can see through my emotion that I went through that. However, through facing that struggle, seeing it for what it is, and letting go of the fighting it, and allowing a change to happen that I did not have control over myself, and giving that to someone else who could do things that I couldn't do, has helped me to not only overcome what those struggles have been, but be able to have compassion for others whose struggles are hidden. And I'm Sam. I'm definitely Sam in that journey. I've improved in ways, and I feel like sometimes I'm Elena. Elena is somebody in the story who's still going through her own struggles, but she has allowed those to start to change her. And the truth is, Catherine, in my life, I'm all the characters. They're all very personal parts of my journey.
Yeah, and I could see that. And I think this is what makes this book so beautiful and so real, because we can feel this. And thank you for being so vulnerable, because it is beautiful, especially as a man. And I think I believe this is what a lot of men are struggling with right now. They have been taught to be that image of strength and always in control of everything, and this perfect. And men, oh my God, let go of this. And I think this is what I believe has hurt a lot of men in their own relationships with their partner. This is why I think people are challenged with relationships right now too, because they feel they have to step away from that perfect image that we've been told to carry all the time. And it is not possible. It is not human. You can only be a hero for so long. And I think it's beautiful. And again, thank you for that, to show that, hey, I can cry and I will do it, because it's important to have a reflection on what has challenged me, what has hurt me, and what I had to go through in order to go to that next level, or where now I can actually be that hero for someone else, because I have allowed myself to experience those things in the deepest layers possible.
Yeah. There's a quote, Jung, I think his name is, he was a psychologist. He says, no tree with branches to heaven doesn't have roots that have gone to hell.
I love that. That is so very true. It's what we have to experience, and that's part of the journey. And this is why I now, for myself anyway, it took me a while to understand it, is when something that feels terrible is happening, I take a step back and thinking, you know what? It's fine. It's part of the journey. It's part of the game, because at the end of the day, I believe there's no death. Right? So when you have that belief that there is no death, that you to continue as a spirit, and that is beautiful on the other side, I think it changes your perspective on life, because we are so controlled with fear and anxiety by everyone, that if you stay in this, they love it. If you step away from that, they start to challenge you. And I think this is what a lot of people are trying to do right now, is step away from that fear environment because they don't believe in it anymore. A lot of people, they hardly watch the news because it's all fear-based, it's all negative, and they detach themselves. This is why you see so many spiritual channels now taking off. This is why YouTube is exploding with private channels that are talking about spirituality, about something else that is actually enlightening, that is positive, that is inspirational, that's going to give you the strength to maybe go after your big dreams that you have buried deep inside because you have been told it's not possible.
Yeah. And I think something I personally think too, Catherine, is I think all of us are born with innate values, things that are very important to us, who are part of us, who are gifts, talents, or whatever you want to call them. But we're trying to find meaning in life. And that's why all the people trying to find, religion or spirituality, they're trying to find meaning. And it's wonderful because that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is find what those values are and move forward with those things, because those values are not meant for us. They're meant to help other people in their lives too.
That is very true. So there's one other thing I'd like you to tackle is, you talk a lot about curiosity. And I personally believe that when you have a curious mind, it's really hard to fall into depression, because when you're curious, you want to learn always, and you break walls and you challenge everything, and you're so thirsty for knowledge because knowledge is going to change your perspective, and if you have a different perspective, you will change your life. So you talking about curiosity being key to empathy. So how can we stay curious, Tom, especially when we are hurt or reactive in our life?
I'm going to pause for a second, think about that one. I think we ask ourselves a question: why do we ask questions? We ask questions because we want to understand. And often there's a quote also that says that if you're not up on something, if you're down on things that you're not up on, which means is often feelings of resentment, anger, judgment are there because you don't understand. And if you truly understood, then the resentment and anger goes away.
I love that.
I can't think of anyone that I've been angry at or has been angry at me if they understood me. And so I think what advice I would give to anyone is, if you're upset at someone, find a way to get more curious and listen with true intent. Don't just listen so you can wait to respond to it. Pause and then reiterate so you can understand. Because once you understand, then that's really connection really meets, the rubber meets the road is understanding each other. So that's, and that just brings peace too. Is understanding where someone's coming from.
That's so beautiful. And yes, when you're curious, at least you have a chance to learn. You may not have an open door when you try to figure it out why someone has done something, and that's okay. I think this is because that door is not meant to be open for you right now. And maybe it will in the future, because things evolve in ways that we very often do not understand. And believe me, I've been working on that myself. Some people have hurt me deeply in my life, and I carried that anger for years and years and years, and I realized, how stupid is that? I mean, come on, wake up. Why have you done that? And I've tried to open those doors, and none of them have not been open, but I have learned now to let go, to forgive, because I have realized that there are so many things I don't know. And because I don't know, I can't establish a reality that's a real reality. It's a Catherine-made reality that probably is not the real reality, right? So I think it's important to just, first of all, forgive. Second of all, like you say, be curious, see if you can learn something. And if you don't let go, let it go. Because things shift around when you least expect it anyway. And you know what? You don't control that anyway. It's all controlled by this higher power that, you know, that loves you so much, that knows exactly what you need at what time, and with whom, right? So
That's
yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, it's fascinating. So that's amazing. Thank you. I mean, that's so great. I could speak with you for hours. One question I have for you is, if there was one feeling or shift that you hope every reader will walk away after reading your book, what would that be?
Hmm. And I hate to bang the drum, but having more compassion.
Mm,
Um, don't pause. Spend more time pausing before you respond. You know, whether it's yourself or somebody else you see, take time to pause and observe. But observe the best you can from a objective, because the truth is that there's three realities. There's your opinion, there's their opinion, and there's reality. There's truth.
mm-hmm.
Well, I live in the world that my experience and knowledge is 100% based on what I've gone through. And
Yeah.
so I'm not going to have it right. 99% of the time, I'm not going to have it right. So big end of the story is to give others grace, the same grace that you see in your life.
Mm, that's
Give grace.
beautiful. That is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's again, what does grace look like in action, right? I mean, it's how do you, and I think that will be a challenge to everyone. What does grace look like in action for you? And come up with answers and see if you can implement those answers, because that could be life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. So, Tom, with all of this, I'm sure a lot of people are just wondering, wow, that, and starting thinking about, oh my God, I've done this, and maybe I need to change that, and maybe I have to learn and be more curious and connect with everyone I know and see what I can learn. I can imagine now people are like, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would imagine you would want them to do next, right?
Yeah. And I think take it one step at a time. Find one person that you would normally kind of see as a barrier or something that's in the way, and try to look at it with more compassion. Someone cuts you off on the road and they speed past you real fast. It's really easy to go, that jerk. They're just horrible drivers. They're just angry. Well, what if they were actually taking their son to the hospital?
Yep.
For all you know, that's exactly what can happen. If you knew that when they went by, you would say, I'm going to get out of the way, go take care of your family.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is start with one person.
That's a very good advice, because this way it's not overwhelming, because we all know when it's overwhelming, we don't do things, right?
Yeah. And that one person, Catherine, might be yourself. Give yourself grace. There are people also in this world who have this pedestal or this expectation they have of themselves. Like, I'll never reach that. You got to give yourself grace too, and recognize, as you said so wisely, Catherine, you said we're on this earth to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's part of why we're here.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace in your journey and development. It's going to take time. Don't beat yourself up when you make mistakes. We all do. Just get back up and start to be more observant at yourself and the world around you. And as you do so, then you'll feel less animosity, less anger, more virtue and compassion. And it's amazing what a genuine smile will do.
That is so funny. I was just going to tell you that. That's so funny. You must have known it, because I was just thinking, have you noticed, Tom, how very few people actually smile with their heart and with their eyes, not just with their mouth? You know, you have the American typical smile just with your mouth, and then there's nothing in your eyes. Right? I mean, I see this so much. I mean, of course, I see this because I'm French, and I see things so different. All cultures are very different. But the one thing I'm forcing myself to do every morning now, because I really believe in the power of energy, I'd force myself when I meditate is to smile. Because first of all, it's good for your body. And second of all, I really believe it generates positive energy, right? So if people would smile more, I think they'll be happier.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, there are studies that show that if you force yourself to smile, it literally can trigger small bits of dopamine and serotonin in your mind. So, yeah. And the second thing I would add to it, smile a lot. And then if you see someone smile, I've done this a number of times. It's just so fun to watch. You walk, or when you're walking past them, just say, "Hey, it's a really good smile."
Yeah.
And it's so fun to watch not just their smile get bigger, but their eyes go and they're like, wow, such a compliment. And it's, just try it. Try it one day. Just say,
You're right. This is such a great advice. I love it. You're right. I'm going to start doing this more. Everybody, you need to start doing this too, because we need that. We need that love and positive energy. And it's just not woo woo and being a little weird. And some people may think you're weird. So what? You don't care. Just smile.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So true.
Being a weirdo is a good thing.
Makes you peculiar. You're just different, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, it also shows that you pay attention and we're not just robots, that you actually paid attention. And sometimes I really believe that when you pay attention, sometimes you can save someone's life. I really believe that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could speak with you for hours, of course. It's just so fascinating. You're amazing. So if people want to buy your book, they can get it on Amazon, right? Is that the best way to get your book?
Yeah, you can get on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I think there's like 13 different platforms, but yeah, the easiest ones that seem to be most common to get from is Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And I highly recommend, before you look at it, feel free to look at the reviews. I just got it on Amazon just a week ago or so. But Barnes and Noble have reviews. And if it's okay, Catherine, I'd like to share just one review from someone.
Yes, please.
Every person it was so neat. Every person that's read my story has given me complete different insights of things that touched them and inspired them. But this one, I kind of liked the overall, very poetic. So this is from somebody I met on LinkedIn. I don't even know him personally. He just said, I'm struggling and trying to figure out, where I'm supposed to go in life. And I don't understand grace. I'd love to read your story. So sure. So I gave him a promo code. He read it. And this was the review that he gave. It's titled, A Masterfully Written Journey into Grace. The cross we carry is one of those rare stories that reaches beyond the page to stir something deep within the soul. Written with poetic elegance and emotional precision, this allegorical narrative explores the weight of personal suffering, judgment, and relational wounds, only to lead the reader gently yet powerfully into the transformative mystery of grace. The author's use of symbolic storytelling, particularly through the metaphor of each character's cross, is both accessible and profound. Characters like Sam, Elena, and Damien are not just fictional figures, they are mirrors of our own humanity. Their journeys are heartbreakingly honest, revealing the internal battles we often hide and the hope we desperately need. What makes this book truly stand apart is how it reframes grace, not as a theological concept, but as a lived, breathing presence. It is something that meets us in the mud, sits beside us in silence, and helps us carry what we thought would destroy us. I highly recommend this book to anyone navigating grief, shame, strained relationships, or simply the exhaustion of carrying one's burdens alone. It will remind you that you are not alone, that your pain has purpose, and that grace, in its truest form, changes everything, not by removing the weight, but by teaching us how to carry it differently.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. That's so beautiful. I mean, I'm sure it must make you feel good when you read something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It often brings a tear to my eye, but that's one of many reviews of how it's helped people. And that's what I want. That's why I wrote it.
That's what you were supposed to do, and you did it. And you did it in a very humble, vulnerable, real, beautiful way. Being you, Tom, who you are. And I think this is why people are touched, and this is why it's doing what it's doing right now. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And Catherine, I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to myself. I was like, at the end of the day, if I had a small journal of how it touched a few people's lives, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's very successful, wonderful if it is, but if I just have that, hey, this is how it touched me, then I feel like I did the right thing and it accomplished what it's supposed to.
And this is why we need to spread this everywhere. This is why I wanted to interview you, because I know that you are going to change people's lives. And everyone who's watching here, this video is going to be published on YouTube and on LinkedIn. Please, please share with your network, because people are, you don't know, it may cross the feed of someone who is close to ending up their lives. You just never know. And then you can save them. It's by sharing this type of stories. And we have to help each other out here, because everything is so hard now because we're so overwhelmed with content. But if you share something like that, if you share Tom's book and his teachings and his understanding of life and how struggles have been overcome, and the lessons, the critical lesson that he has learned, that will definitely have an impact on someone. So we need each other to help each other out here with spreading this type of information. It's critical. This is how I see it anyway. It's critical.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Catherine.
All right. So thank you again, Tom. It was great. And again, the weight of grace. So we're going to put a link here in the content area, in the description of the YouTube video. So then you can just click on that link and you can go either to Barnes & Nobles. We have a link to Amazon too, if you prefer to buy it on Amazon, and read that book. It's an incredible story. That's just such a heartfelt invitation to shift your perspective and connect more deeply with the shared struggles of humanity. We are all going through some type of struggle right now, and it's not the end of the earth. It's just a renewal of who we are as human beings, and we need this type of guidance to get to that vivid dream that is dormant very often inside of us. And this type of book really is an inspiration to live a better life, to take care of others, to show more empathy, to not be so judgmental, to be curious about what's going on in others' life, and slow down a little bit, because when you slow down, you can hear. We have 2 ears for a reason. We need to use those 2 ears and slow down to hear more, and slow down to take a few minutes to look at the details that are surrounding you, because very often they're so beautiful and they carry colors that cannot be seen in speed. They can only be seen when you stop and you take a minute to observe them. I am a painter. I do fine art, and that has taught me to look at all the details in a flower that you think sometimes it only has 2 colors when it has 15, and you can only notice them when you stop and you look at those colors. And it's exactly the same thing with people. If you rush when you meet them, you cannot see all of their colors. It's exactly the same metaphor. And if you stop, you're going to see all these colors that are going to be inspirational, maybe give you an idea of something you can do that they are doing that you never have thought of, and that can change your life, because we are all trying to reinvent ourselves right now. But if we don't take a minute to stop and smell and breathe and watch, we'll never find a new path that is right in front of us. So I really encourage everyone to take that reflection with them, to read that book, to sit down and every day to just stop for a few minutes and look around and listen to the birds and smell a flower. I mean, it seems so easy, but I know most people don't do it anymore. So again, Tom, you have done something wonderful, and thank you for taking the time to do this. Everyone, again, share this story with your network. I thank you for watching this video. I thank you for coming back to my YouTube channel. For those who come back, I need you to keep doing this and share so that I can keep doing what I'm doing. This is just the beginning. This is an amazing enterprise for me that has been so rewarding, that give me additional purpose in my life. So let's make sure we help each other out here in spreading love, spreading curiosity, and spreading some gentleness that is so needed in this world. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tom, and we will see you next time.
We'll see ya. Thank you.